In today's video, I'll be crossing the border. I make it sound like a big deal, I'm only going to another county, but driving from Brighton to Essex is a tedious drive, and you need some company. Luckily, I tempted my friend Louise to sit in a car with me for 5 hours and listen to my nonsense. Louise is also making a YouTube video, so I'll link to her video at the end to see her take on the location. Today's video is about the floating beach huts at Osea, which I've visited once before. And amazingly, I just happened to turn up at high tide on my way home from visiting family one Christmas. It was only after that I realised how tide dependent this location is. A revisit has been on my wish list for a few years now, and I'm very happy to be back at this location, hopefully to capture some long exposures. We have made it. We are here in Osea, which is in Maldon in Essex. We've come through the Dartford tolls and we have made it to these famous floating beach huts, and we appear to have got the tides just right. The sun's coming back out again, so we're going to have to move quite quickly. But in the half an hour that we've been here, I'm now stood in water. This was dry a couple of minutes ago, so the tides here move quickly. Let me show you exactly what we're looking at today. So I think we'll be looking at a composition such as that. Beauty! Now you'll probably notice that we have come here at not the ideal time of day. It's currently 2 o'clock in the afternoon. High tide, a particularly high tide, is at 3 o'clock. So the light here is going to be pretty harsh, but we've been keeping an eye on this location and the tides for over a month now, and the weather prediction, even just yesterday, was really bad. The prediction for the last few hours, and right now it was supposed to be raining really hard, so we've come prepared. We've got wellies, complete waterproof overalls, the lot. If you're going to take anything from this video, is take the weather prediction with a bit of salt and just go out there. So this is the precarious setup we've got. We've still got 45 minutes away from the highest tide here. Right, I'm going to get some photos in the bag and then I can relax, I think. Have you got a shot already? Happy? Award-winning. Award-winning? What, you've already entered it?
Boom! Fighting talk. Oh, too right, too right.
Kind of feels like we're going to get rained on. Look at those. Did you bring wellies? No. Oh. Oh. Amateur.
Such an amateur.
Okay, so the sun has gone in, but that is working out perfectly. Now the prediction was for heavy rain, which I don't go out with my camera in the heavy rain. However, the reason we gambled, we rolled the dice and we came here is because that window of rain was only supposed to be a few hours. And after rain, you can get incredible conditions straight before and after rain. My brother Paul has joined us. You probably recognise him from some of my previous videos, especially when I visit home somewhere in Essex. I normally call up Paul and we go out together and shoot some landscapes. This is really easy to photograph from. Along here you've got tarmac path, low level wall, and although you will have to set up your tripod on a very crazy angle, this is probably the best place to shoot from. Some of the considerations when I'm shooting these. Ideally, I would shoot them in odd numbers, maybe 1, 3 or 5. Maybe if you photograph it from end on, you're not really counting the beach huts. They're kind of just an array, a terrace of beach huts. But if I was photographing a cluster of them, I'd probably like to keep them in odd numbers. The other thing is, if you get your camera at the wrong height, the background, which is land in the background, which is most of the time photoshopped out to make this like a really simple, clean image. A lot of people just Photoshop that out. Make sure that that background doesn't clash with the handrail and the glass on the beach huts, because otherwise you're going to make your Photoshop much more difficult. Like I said earlier, this location definitely requires a high tide, but that obviously fluctuates. So if you want to get a scene like this without any foreground busyness, then aim for something like today, which is 5.3 meters. Okay, this is a particularly high tide because of the moons and all of that voodoo. 5.3 meters is going to get you a nice clean foreground. I'm just making sure I'm not staying still. My tripod kind of gets comfortable there, so I'm taking a bit of a walk along here. So as I said earlier, there are 10 beach huts along here. furthest to the east is blue, then it's green, green, blue, then they get kind of yellow and green and orange. So don't overlook the fact that these are different colours. You might want a composition with just say 3 of the beach huts, and I think when I come to shoot this, probably going to see if I can get 3 different coloured beach huts. So I think if you were looking for the absolute ideal conditions, at the moment this is the middle of the day, but we've come here for high tide, and I've got a secret weapon, because when I go out shooting long exposures, I'm normally out at sunrise and sunset, and a 10-stop filter will do the job. You could probably get into say 1 or 2 minutes exposure. When you come out in the daytime, that's not enough. So I tried a 10-stop with a polarizer, that pushed up the exposure a bit more to about 30 seconds. But for a proper long exposure in the daytime, you have to get something more like a 16-stop. So that is the 16-stop that I've been using from Hi-Tech to create these images that I'm going to share with you today. But I guess if you could just pick your conditions, then this is kind of southish facing. Sun is going to rise over that way, and then kind of where we're pointing would be sunset. You won't want to be shooting straight into the sun, but maybe you could come here after sunset. You'd have the colour in the sky, water reflecting the colour in the sky. You might have to bracket again. Alternatively, you might just have to pick your time of year and then get this at sunrise, so you're not shooting straight into the sun. Now, although I might not be showing it, this is the part of the video when I started to panic. So essentially, I'd spent the last 3 minutes taking a long exposure photograph, and this was the result. As you can see here, something has gone terribly wrong. Now, even though there was no direct sunlight on the filter itself, I think it might have been approaching the filter from the side, and therefore it's just emphasizing any imperfections in the filter, maybe any dust that's on the front of the lens element. So what I did was I cleaned up the filter and went for another 3-minute exposure, and I got the same result. Even more panic. By this point, Louise and Paul, they've got a great shot and they've moved on to find another composition, and I am stubborn. I've travelled a long way to get this shot, so I'm keeping my tripod and camera in that position until I've got the photograph. And I'm happy to say, eventually I did get a shot that I was happy with. So keeping my cool, in the video I say, right, great, I've got some photographs, I'm going to pick up the camera and move to get a different composition. But little did I know that I'd already missed the high tide. So luckily I wasn't there alone. Obviously Louise and my brother Paul were there, and they've kindly shared some of their photographs for me in this video. Let's get back to the video and I'll share some of my favourite photographs from the day. I've edited a selection of images, some with the background kept in and others with it removed. Let me know in the comments which you prefer and why. So I have been busy taking photographs since I last hit record on the camera. So essentially we were taking photographs, snapping away at high tide, and then for the hour following that, the tide quickly receded back, so we were moving our cameras and tripods around trying to get the shots that we came here for. The light hasn't really changed that much, so we've had overcast conditions the whole time that we were here. Good news, we didn't get rained on, but we didn't get any kind of directional light that was helpful. It's quite contrasty throughout the entire afternoon. Some things to consider if you're coming here. I managed pretty much with one camera and one lens. I was using the 24-105, and if you're up on the bank there, 24-105 covers everything, except for if you want to shoot straight onto the huts where you get 1 or 3, for example, you'll need a wider lens. So then I switched to the 16-35. Otherwise, 24-105 will pretty much have you covered here. As you come in, there is visitors parking on the right hand side. We had some lunch in the cafe, so we felt okay about parking in the car park. And then literally there's a cafe there which has got a toilet, lovely jam, because this is quite close to Tiptree, which is famous for its jam, and you're having your lunch in the cafe and you can see these beach huts behind you, so it's a really accessible location. I was intrigued to see what they look like on the other side as well. I wouldn't say photogenic, but it's another angle, but you can see why people photograph it from that side, because you have the consistent cladding going around the side. It's got a bit of colour to it, whereas this side it's just windows and doors and glazing. Not anything particularly interesting in my opinion. what an amazing location. We've got a bit of a journey to get back home now, but hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, then let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being in the video, guys.
Done for exposure.
You are welcome. Oh no, I am.